program?
We've never run Venezuela before.
Yeah, that's correct.
That would be a safe thing to say.
I agree. That's why it's unprecedented and historical. So my question to you is the DOE's involvement with Venezuela putting a strain on the department's capacity to address the number of domestic issues, including cyber issues?
No.
No. Okay. I find that hard to believe because this undertaking comes at the same time as massive staffing cuts across the department. You said it's about 3,500 people, which is a 20% reduction compared to what the staff was in September of 2024. I think it's easy to say
What began as a routine line of questioning about cybersecurity quickly turned into a sharp warning about priorities, capacity, and what Congressman Rob Menendez described as an ill-advised expansion of the Department of Energy's role far beyond U.S. borders. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do not just show you the moments from Capitol Hill, we explain what they mean and why they matter.
For 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Fitzsimmons, yes or no, would you agree that cybersecurity threats from malicious actors are on the rise and worsening each year?
Yes, I think that's fair to say.
And would you agree that they represent a serious threat to the reliability of our energy grid? Yes or no?
Yes, I think that's fair.
Thank you. And would you agree that the Department of Energy has a vital and irreplaceable role to play in using its subject matter expertise to ensure energy stays reliable in the face of cyber threats?
Yes, I would.
And can you confirm that since the start of this administration, there have been 3,500 firings or layoffs or terminated roles at the Department of Energy?
Thank you for the question. There have been a number all across the department, yes.
Roughly 3,500?
Sure, that's a fair number.
So that'd be about a 20% reduction in the staff at the Department of Energy, which brings me to my next question. So last week, President Trump announced that the United States will run Venezuela and control sales of Venezuelan oil indefinitely. The Department of Energy and Secretary Wright are heavily involved in this process, and Secretary Wright has already said that revenues would be used to stabilize Venezuela's economy and repay major oil companies. That's a massive undertaking, especially given that DOE has no special expertise in these areas. Can you briefly explain the extent to which the DOE is involved in the running of Venezuela?
Thank you for the question. We have a lot of extensive expertise in the energy sector, as you just mentioned.
Of course you do, because you're the Department of Energy.
Yes.
What is the extent to which you are involved, the DOE is involved with the running of Venezuela?
Thank you for the question. Under President Trump's bold leadership, the people of Venezuela are now going to have a more prosperous
I only have 5 minutes. What is the DOE's role in the running of Venezuela?
I think what you have seen President Trump say is there is now a historic energy deal that Secretary Wright is helping to implement. That will be a win-win-win. It'll be a win for the people of Venezuela.
So historic means unprecedented, right? So the DOE has never been involved in anything like this. Is that correct?
Anything like what?
Anything like the historic deal that you just mentioned in terms of running Venezuela and its oil program?
We've never run Venezuela before.
Yeah, that's correct.
That would be a safe thing to say.
I agree. That's why it's unprecedented and historical. So my question to you is the DOE's involvement with Venezuela putting a strain on the department's capacity to address the number of domestic issues, including cyber issues?
No.
No. Okay. I find that hard to believe because this undertaking comes at the same time as massive staffing cuts across the department. You said it's about 3,500 people, which is a 20% reduction compared to what the staff was in September of 2024. I think it's easy to say the president is already asking the department to do more with fewer resources. So it seems that we're diverting attention from our domestic issues to address what he wants to do in Venezuela, and doing so with a 20% reduction in the workforce. You have no concerns about the DOE's capacity and ability to run Venezuela and to deal with the issues that we have here domestically in the United States.
More staff does not mean more success. Under the previous administration, you saw a 20% increase in staff at DOE. I think we are executing our mission. We're doing it well, and this is.
You have no concerns.
I'm sorry?
You have no concerns about being able to do all of these things with the current staff levels that you have at the DOE?
As I said, the historic energy deal that President Trump
yes or no, so you have no concerns, is that correct?
I think we are executing our mission.
All right, so you said that staff's not important. If the administration's focus was on better protecting our country from cyber threats, why then did the Trump administration cancel more than $2 billion worth of funding for communities to harden their energy infrastructure against severe weather?
Thank you for the question. As I have said, DOE has a responsibility to conduct a rigorous review process. We are continuously reviewing all of the projects in the portfolio.
Isn't there a sense of urgency to make sure that communities in our country has the resources that have been appropriated by Congress to go to work to harden our infrastructure and protect our communities.
And we have a responsibility to make sure that the projects that we're funding with taxpayer resources advance national security and have a path to technical, economic, and financial viability. We'd be happy to discuss any specific projects in a separate setting, in a separate briefing with you. Today, we're here to talk about your important cyber bills and the work that we can do together to strengthen the security and resilience of the
and
energy
that
sector.
work is critically important, right? But I'm concerned about a deviation of mission from the DOE to address those issues here domestically when the DOE is tasked with running Venezuela, as you confirmed earlier, where the Secretary writes involvement in doing, as you said, historic, unprecedented involvement in a foreign country. As you said, we've never run Venezuela before, and now we are. So it strikes me as we have an immense amount of work to do here in this country, and the administration's not focused on that work, not focused on driving down the cost for all American consumers. It's focused instead on Venezuela and the decision that the president made. I think it's ill-advised. I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman, his time has expired, and yields back.
Menendez opened with something few in the room could dispute. Cyber threats are increasing, and they pose a serious risk to the nation's energy grid. The Department of Energy official at the witness table agreed on both counts, confirming that malicious cyber activity is getting worse and that DOE plays a critical role in protecting energy reliability. That agreement set the trap. Menendez then walked the conversation into staffing. He confirmed that roughly 3,500 positions have been eliminated across the Department of Energy since the start of the Trump administration, amounting to about a 20% reduction in workforce compared to late 2024. That fact matters because DOE is not just an energy policy agency. It oversees nuclear security, grid reliability, cyber defense coordination, and emergency response during disasters. This is where the questioning shifted from numbers to priorities. Menendez pointed to public statements by President Trump and senior officials describing a sweeping new energy arrangement involving Venezuela. While the administration frames this as a historic energy deal, Menendez argued that the scope being described amounts to unprecedented U.S. involvement in Venezuela's oil sector, including managing revenues and stabilizing parts of the country's economy. The congressman pressed the witness repeatedly to explain the Department of Energy's role in this effort. Each time, the response stayed vague, leaning on phrases like historic, win for everyone, and bold leadership. What never came was a clear explanation of who is doing what or how much institutional bandwidth this would require. That evasiveness became the point. Menendez emphasized that DOE has never been involved in anything like this before, and the witness eventually conceded that, yes, the department has never run Venezuela's energy sector. Menendez then asked the core question, whether this new foreign undertaking puts additional strain on a department already dealing with deep staff cuts and mounting domestic threats. The answer from the administration official was a flat no. Menendez made clear he did not accept that. From his perspective, the department is being asked to do more with fewer people, while simultaneously diverting attention away from urgent domestic needs like cybersecurity, grid resilience, and disaster preparedness. He argued that staffing does matter, especially when defending critical infrastructure from increasingly sophisticated attacks. Subscribe now if you want continued coverage that cuts through the talking points and focuses on accountability. The exchange became even sharper when Menendez turned to funding. He asked why the administration canceled more than $2 billion in previously approved funding meant to help communities harden their energy infrastructure against severe weather and other threats. These are projects designed to prevent blackouts, protect hospitals, and keep energy flowing during emergencies. The DOE official defended the decision by citing reviews and project viability, but Menendez pushed back, questioning whether there was any real sense of urgency given the growing risks facing American communities. To Menendez, the contradiction was obvious. On one hand, the administration warns about cyber threats and energy insecurity. On the other, it cuts staff, freezes infrastructure funding, and expands into an unprecedented foreign energy role. As his time expired, Menendez summed up his concern. He argued that the administration is not focused on lowering costs for American consumers or protecting domestic energy systems. Instead, he said, it is prioritizing an ambitious and risky foreign energy agenda centered on Venezuela. He called that decision ill-advised and yielded back. This hearing was not just about Venezuela. It was about whether the Department of Energy can realistically meet its domestic responsibilities while being pulled into new and untested international roles, especially after significant staffing reductions. If you want more reporting that explains the stakes behind these hearings, not just the sound bites, subscribe to the channel. We will keep breaking it down so you stay informed.